Okay, hi. Hi everyone. Let's wait while people are joining. Yesterday we had people from Georgia, Mexico, Canada, Poland, for sure Spain. Let's check today from where people are joining. Just type the city or the country where you're from. Then I will know if you hear me well and as well from which part of the world you're listening to us. Mexico, hi. Wow, two people from Mexico. Nice to meet you. Okay, let's wait a couple of minutes. While we are waiting, I want to still just, I don't know, a little bit of your time and tell you about EPAM, because today actually people from EPAM are going to share their knowledge and experience. So probably you just didn't heard about the company before. So just a second of history. EPAM started as a company of 3 people almost 30 years ago, and that was a long way full of ups and downs, for sure. But here we are. In 2021, we had almost 60,000 people. And probably the most important recognition of that year is that EPAM was included in S&P 500 and Forbes Global 2000. And as soon as we are an international company, we have offices in 45 countries and regions. And I guess if we include our clients, that would be even more. And who we are. I believe we are a group of people inspired by technologies and who likes to create tech products. So we are absolutely different. We are playing different roles, but the final goal is to create a product to address business needs. And as soon as we are in Spain, I would like to share just a couple of words about our office here. So it is a very young office, which started just 3 years ago, but now we have almost 1,000 people. Originally, the idea of office in Spain was to attract the most talented people. So we invited people from all over the world, and now we have 45 nationalities in our team. And if you like working from the office, good news, EPAM has office in a great location. It's so near to the sea that some people have lunch right on the beach. And it's not far from the city center of Malaga. So it's a nice place to work from. And I'm finishing my presentation with some positive information. These are just some awards which EPAM received recently. For sure, the most important is not awards itself, but the fact that third-party companies evaluated our work so high. That's it from my side. Thank you for listening. And I believe here we have more people interested in data. So here you can see QR code on our page about data department in Spain. So you can find more information there. Yeah, I'm stop sharing the screen and would love to add here Diego. Hi, Diego, how are you?
Hi, Ksenia, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Diego is going to tell us about automation of KPIs. Good luck. Let's start.
Okay, perfect. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Like I said, my name is Diego. I'm going to talk about how can we automate the monitoring of our KPIs without needing to keep track of their values and avoid having to check the report every single day. But before jumping to the technical part, allow me to introduce myself a little bit so you can have a better idea of who am I. Like I said, my name is Diego Misala. I work as a senior software engineer, sorry, at the Data Analytics and Visualization Department here in EPAM. I have been working in analytics or BI for more than 8 years, and I have been using Power BI since 2015. Also, I have some Microsoft certifications and all related with data platforms. But let's jump directly to the content of our tech talk. Okay. So let's start explaining a little bit the complex situation that all analysts must face nowadays. During the last 20 years, a lot of companies have begun a journey to achieve a data-driven culture. So our challenge as data people is to deliver easily consumable insights. Take a look at this because I'm not talking about data or I'm not talking about information. I'm going a step further and saying insights. Okay, why is that? Because um, based on the actual contents, there are several challenges that we need to face. Based on a research conducted by Accenture in 2020, more than one fifth of the participants said that they will find, let's say, an alternative method to complete the task without using data. And another 14% would avoid that task entirely. So this presents, let's say, a real barrier to businesses who are trying to build this data-driven culture. And allow me, since I'm a data guy, to present you three values that I would like you to keep in mind during the entire presentation. The first one, it's like a range, is between 63 and 75%, which is basically the analyzed data from large enterprises. This is based on a survey made by Forrester during 2019. Also, 48% is the people that frequently defer to making the decisions based on a gut feeling over data-driven insights. And this is like a terrible hazard for us as business or data analysts. And the last one, it's I think the most relevant here. It's 47, which is basically the average reports developed in large companies for senior managers. So this means that as an average, every senior manager has access to 47 different reports for the entire company. So that means that they are overwhelmed of the information. Okay, I'm not talking about raw data. It's actually information, but there are so many reports that it's hard to keep track of the content and also the KPIs. That's why actually we need to automatize that part a little bit to help them into the decision making process. So the question is, since we have a lot of challenges here, how can we make it happen? So let me present you one approach to tackle this problem based on Power BI. This is a data flow on a Power BI solution. First, we have our data sets, which are a combination or group of different data sources, such as web APIs, SQL database, local Excel files, etc. Then all that data can be visualized in a report. And we can even have many reports related to the same topic. For example, finance, sales, HR, legal, etc. We can have several sales reports because they are built based on or developed based on different perspectives. After that, we have another layer, which is the dashboard. Basically, a dashboard is a custom view or summary of several reports. Since probably there is no CEO on earth who can review all the KPIs from all the sheets, from all the reports that we or our colleagues can develop and offer to them. So a dashboard acts as, like I said, personal view based on what the user considers the most useful for his personal decision-making process. The problem here is that, oh, sorry, let me go back. Okay, like I said, the problem here is that any user can have several KPIs that need to be monitorized. So there is where the automation layers plays an extremely valuable place. But let's stop talking and allow me to show you how it's done. So here we are at the demo. Let me open up Power BI file. For example, we have this report, super simple. We are talking about sales. I'm going to keep track of this gross margin, okay? So our target, and this is the actual value of it. And we have a measure, which is the gross margin achievement, okay? Our target achievement. So our actual value, it's 26. Our target is 51. So we can say that as an average, if we divide 26 by 51, the achievement is close to the 50%. Okay, if this value will be 51, the achievement will be 100% as well. Okay, so let's assume that we publish this report and we have this on the Power BI layer. So let me put this over here. Thanks to the magic to the television, we already have it here. So if we click on the report, here we can see that all the different layers that we have, the data source, in this case, is coming from an Excel file, the data set, and our report. And if we open the report, we'll see exactly the same as we have on Power BI Desktop. So far, this is like a classic development of Power BI. The problem is that, like I said, usually a senior manager can have up to 47 reports like this. And in this case, it only has one sheet. It's super simple. But let's imagine this single report can have up to maybe 20 sheets. So that's when it comes a little bit overwhelming. Okay, so how can we automatize this target? Okay, the idea is to achieve 100%. So this is the only value that I would like to keep track if I'm assuming the sales manager or even the CEO. This is from all these sheets, this is the only KPI that we actually want to keep track. But I want to avoid getting into this report every single day. So that's why I need to create a dashboard, because this is a report layer. I need to go one step further. So I need to hover the mouse in my report in the Power BI service, which is the one I open from my browser. And if you take a look, when I hover the mouse, there are 4 icons on my top right, and I need to click on the first one, which is Pin Visual. Okay. Now I need to create a new dashboard because I don't have anyone on my workspace. Let's call it just demo. Let's pin this visualization. If I go to the report, to the dashboard, this is the layer. I can modify it a little bit. The canvas has no limits. I can expand that value as well and make it a custom view based on the selection I make. Okay, and if I click one more time on the KPI or the visualization, I'm going to be redirected to the report. So it's a great way to have a summary view, like I said, of this report. Okay, so let's go back to the dashboard, and this is where the magic happens. This is the value I want to keep track and get to actually have a notification when that value can reach the target or a specific threshold that I can establish. So again, when I hover the mouse, I will see this ellipsis, these 3 dots. And if I click over here, I can have one option that says Manage Alerts. I click over here and just expand a new section on the right side when I can create an alert rule. Let's add a new one. This is the title, of the alert. Let's imagine this is gross margin, 100% achievement. Okay, this is the rule that stands for. This is the measure that we created, which is basically the actual gross margin divided our target. And I want to say, okay, let me a notification when this value, since we are talking about percentages, 1 equals to 100. So let me know when this value it's above 100%. It means it's higher than 100%. I say, you know what? I will receive a notification here on the notification center in Power BI, okay, like this one. But also, I want to receive an email. And I can establish an email for myself or for other parties as well. So let's go back, 100% achievement. threshold is 100%, and I click Save and Close. Okay, so far so good. Now what happened? I'm going to go to my Excel file. I have my raw data over here, and I updated this. So now I'm in the Power BI desktop, and I will refresh my data. Oops, sorry, I have my Excel file open, so this won't work. There we go. Oh, I need to put some extra values in here. Now that's, oh no, actually we're 117%. Sorry, this is the value we need. So we are above 100%. So this should set up or actually trigger our alert. Okay. So in order to do this, we need to republish, since we are working on local files. I'm going to republish this report. I would say my changes. I'm going to publish in this case, my personal workspace. And I'm going to overwrite my report, and those have an impact on my dashboard as well. So let's give it a minute. There we go. So it's updated. If we go back to our demo, take a look at this, automatically gets updated as well. So now if we give a minute, we will receive an email notification as well, a notification in the notification center here in Power BI saying, hey, take a look at this value. It's below the threshold you set up. Okay. Actually, let me open up my Outlook application. Put on the other side. Oops. Here we go. But we can also, in the meantime, while this loads, we can oops, sorry, go one step further, because so far so good. Oh, actually, I already received that email. 1717. There we go. Okay. Oops. Take a look at this. This is for today. This is the same time, like not even a minute ago, a few seconds ago. And this, actually, let me download the pictures as well. Okay, so this is coming from Microsoft. Okay, this is a standard email that we get when the measure gets above the threshold we put. In this case, we put 100%. Our actual value was 117%. And this is the name of the dashboard. Sorry, the dashboard we created. Okay, so if we click here, it will open up the dashboard view, and we can go back to our monitoring platform that we have. Oh, also in here, take a look at this. On the notification center, we receive the actual notification for this alert as well. And also you will see that there's a little like alert icon and a notification as well on the tile. So the good thing about this is I'm able to create several alerts for the same KPI. So for example, let's imagine that we're tracking our sales reps performance, and I want to receive a notification where our sales rep maybe achieves 80%, 90%, and achieves the target, or maybe 120%. Okay, I want to trigger some custom actions based on that value. Okay, in order to do that, first of all, we need to establish different roles, okay, different alerts. This is going to be gross margin, will be like maybe 80% achievement. In this case, the limit will be, oh, sorry, POMA 0. Same thing here. I want to receive an email and a notification on my notification center as well. I click on Save and Close, and I will have two alerts. Again, have a lot of alerts for the same KPI. So I can automatize and avoid getting in the report every single day to keep track of this value. And I set up like different milestones. Even I can set up if the condition is above or below. Let's say I want to set another alert when it's below 50%. Okay, maybe our business is at stake. So this is one thing. But if you want to go like a step further and say, hey, is it possible to receive, instead of an email or a notification center here, maybe I not get on Power BI every single day and I miss this notification? Can I receive on my phone as well? Yes, you can. But for doing this, you need to integrate with another tool, which is called Power Automate. formerly known as Microsoft Flow. And there is like a template for this. You need to log in with your account. And so you can customize the action, like the consequence, when an alert is triggered. So here I have my 2 alerts, my 100% achievement or my 80% achievement. I say, you know what? When my 100% achievement alert gets triggered, I want to create a new step. And here I have like a million possibilities from almost any platform from Microsoft or third parties that I can integrate and optimize my workflow as well. So for example, if I want to maybe keep track of my alerts, because again, we are keep tracking of our sales rep performance, and I want to have maybe a simple Excel file where say when every single salesperson reached the target, I can type Excel and say, you know what, I want to add a row into a table. Or I can create several files or several tables or new sheets, whatever. I can do it with this. And take a look at this. When I type Excel, since I'm on in the All tab, I can take a look at some other platforms or tools that are included in this custom action trigger. Okay. Also, there are some native connectors that are categorized as a standard or premium based on your Microsoft account. If you take a look at premium, we have, for example, Dataverse or Desktop Flows. If you want to run an action in your desktop, for example, perform an actions as set a file or whatever, AccuWeather, and like a million other platforms that are integrated in here as well. So the thing that, I mean, the good thing about this, and usually people get up this far up to here. Maybe in some cases they can go over here until the dashboard, but this is not very common. People usually start developing a million reports, like we saw, at 47 as an average per per senior manager, but they avoid having like a summary view for the KPIs with the dashboard, and then go a step further and say, okay, what can I do when my dashboard, when my KPI or any value reach a target? I want to automatize the consequences of that. I want to notify, for example, HR, hey, this person reached a target, so give him the bonus. You can do it by email, like I said, keep track on an Excel file or whatever. Have like a million possibilities, which is super simple flow. It's like 2 steps. I mean, I can create some other actions as well, but it's just a drag and drop or with a few clicks. You don't even need to write any code here. This is super user friendly from the Power BI perspective as of the integration with Power Automate. Okay, so let's go back to our presentation over here. So as a result of the demo, here we have like the mobile phone view, okay, for our reports, or actually the Power BI app, as well as a sample of the email that we'll receive when we set up an alert and say, hey, I want to receive a notification and an email as well, besides the notification center. So 2 questions as a summary. Can I receive email notifications based on KPI so we can avoid checking the report every single day? Yes. And what about if I want to receive a notification on my smartphone as well? The answer is yes. And sorry, let me take 1 second. If I set mobile, no, sorry, notification all, send me a mobile notification or an email notification or a custom email. Again, you have a lot of customized actions that you can use based on this template and customize to apply for every single case. Okay, so that's all from my side. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, we have. Let me read it for you. So is it possible to pass through any filters when setting up an alert rule, or it always takes an existing setup of a given KPI?
Actually, you need to set up the filters when you create the measure. So that part is being created on the Power BI desktop when you create the measure. Basically, a KPI is the result of a calculation. Okay. So when you set up your calculation, you can add some filters or some other values or context that can apply to that single KPI. For example, if you want to keep track of the performance of a specific product or country or business unit, you need to create a KPI or a measure for every single case. So that's why on a dashboard, you don't have any limits or limitations when you want to pin all your tiles. So you can have one single dashboard with maybe 100 tiles pinned in it and you can set up all your notifications in there.
Thank you for the answer. The next one, how are users group configured up who are supposed to receive this type of notifications?
Sorry, say again.
How are users group configured and who are supposed to receive this type of notifications?
Usually this type of notification is aimed to, like I said, senior managers or people who need to make decisions based on this value. But like I said, based on the integration with Power Automate, you can set up an email notification, for example, the most common use case, and add a distribution group to that, or add like some fixed and dynamic content to it. So for example, you can say, good afternoon, the sales rep, and you put the name based on a parameter or a variable, have reached the target. He achieved the percentage as a variable as well of his target. Okay, so you can establish all those conditions or all that customization part in Power Automate as well.
Thank you. And can it be sent to only email, or you can send it to Teams or Slack or whatever? Is there any integrations like this?
Exactly. You can have like a one-to-one message, or publish some content in Slack or Teams, or like I said, in email as well. You can post some like notification, how is it called, in Jammer, for example, or it has an integration with every single Microsoft tool, and I said with a ton of external tools as well.
Sounds like a fun. We can use it. And first of all, thanks, Diego. This is from the listener. And the first question, do you maybe have your own statistics on maximum amount of reports for managers you've replaced with a dashboard? Or how many hours is saved thanks for API dashboard in one of the companies?
That's a great question. To be honest, I don't have the answer. But I would say that based on at least my experience, most of the users, the developers, as well as the managers, didn't know about this feature. It's super basic. I mean, it has been on Power BI for, I would say, 4 or 5 years. But usually people don't realize or doesn't even know that this feature exists. And I can assure that it saves a lot of time. I don't have like the exact number of an average per manager, but I truly believe that this changed the way you avoid manual tasks or all the actions that are triggered based on KPI value. Like I said, if it's good or even if it's bad as well.
Right. And what is your favorite thing about working in business intelligence? Sorry.
I will say it's it allows you to be super creative. I mean, every client is a whole different world. Every need is super different. Also, you need to be aware of the client's budget as well as the team size. Sometimes you don't need like every single data role. If you want to like build up a dream team, you will need to gather like 10 people, like a data scientist, data engineer, business analyst, data analyst. So sometimes that does not even happen. So the good thing about this is that you need to be super flexible and resilient and always keep learning about new features about the same tool. For example, in my case, I only specialize in Power BI. I know how to use Google Data Studio and Tableau as well, but my expertise in this is in this tool. And Power BI launch a new release every single month. So it's like a separate job to keep track or be updated, And I think that's awesome.
Right, right. Thanks a lot. Another question. So many questions about your presentation. Can you create one alert for multiple KPIs, like several KPIs in one alert?
No, actually, you need to set up one alert per KPI. But what you can do is set up one measure that says if several KPIs achieve the target. So, for example, let's say we achieve the target for gross margin, net margin, and total sales. We can create one measure that says, or actually looks for or calculates if the three values are above the threshold we established. All of this, we need to do it on Power BI Desktop, and we'll have, of course, our fact table when you get the actuals, and a target table when we have our goals. Okay, so we establish one single KPI that says, hey, if like concatenate three ifs, if gross margin, net margin, and total sales are above, or the sum of them, actually each one above their target, you can set a yes or no, okay, or a 1 or 0, something binary. And then you can go to Power BI service and say if it's 0, it means that the three targets were achieved. It's like a workaround to combine different KPIs in one. But the general rule is one rule, one alert, let's say, per KPI.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that could be a new feature? I mean,
Absolutely, it will be ideal to, for example, create some scenarios. Okay, like what happened if, like I said, a combination of different
mm-hmm.
KPI values, if one is above or other is below our target. Maybe, for example, let's say we are selling a ton of units, but the gross margin is going down and down and down. That's if you keep track of a single KPI as units, you say, hey, I'm going to be rich. But if you take a look at the gross margin, hey, my business is ruined. So that's when these kind of scenarios can work pretty good or
Mm-hmm.
be super useful for the use cases.
Agree, agree. Can we post or embed into a website or else anonymous access? Can we send snapshots, PDF, or other format of filtered Power BI report at a given time? Recurrently, what licensing do we need to achieve all the above? Assuming a service user to send to an audience instead of public.
Okay, let's start
That's a
over.
long question.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of sub questions. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's start over. Can I add like a filter to the alert? What was the question? Sorry.
Can we post, let's start from the first one. Can we post or embed into a website or somewhere else, like anonymous access?
Yeah, but that's a tricky part. If you want to, that only works for reports, not dashboards. But the problem is, in order to publish the report and to be accessible to any person, is that you need to publish a public URL. And the problem is that you don't have control. Well, actually, you can remove that URL, but you don't have control of the people that are actually accessing to that URL. So let's imagine the worst case. If we create a report with sensitive or confidential data, we paste that or publish with a public URL, and that URL gets to our competition. Our competition or competitor will see all our sensitive data. So the question, it can be done? Yes. Is it recommended? Not so much.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But
I think,
sorry, what you can
yeah.
do, it's publish, for example, in a SharePoint site. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
be under the Microsoft 365 security layer. So you'll need to log in, of course, to access it. And you can apply, for example, another feature called row level security to specify the content based on the user that it's logged in, and filter the data based on the role, the position, or any other condition.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I think we are out of time. I would love to ask you answer in QA section if you can on the rest of the questions. There are a little bit of them which we have no time to answer.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And let's invite Alexei and Yegmur. Hi guys, how are you?
Hi.
Hi, Ksyusha. So is everything correct? You see my screen and like you see our faces?
Yeah, and I hear you. So the floor is yours. You can start. Good luck.
All right, here we go. Pair programming comes to your house. So, well, the first chance during this today's meetup to talk not about data. I don't know whether it's intriguing, but that's how it is.
Yeah, we'll kind of talk about data, but without talking about data, let's say. I don't
Well,
know.
okay, anyway, we always know that there is some part of the programming, even if you're a data engineer, that's not really related to data, but to, well, soft skills, or, well, there are so many aspects that we are going to talk about, right?
Yeah, sure. Let's go on.
Yeah, as usual, let's first introduce ourselves. So, yeah, I am Alexey Lisnov from EPAM Malaga. Well, I have quite long working experience since 1999, actually, but I never dealt with pair programming, well, before recent time. Only 2 years ago, I started to practice it.
Hi, I'm Yağmur, and I've been working since 2010. And 2 years ago, I started this new project, and this was my first project with pair programming this heavily. Yep.
All right, and well, we have all seen the images on internet. Well, pair programming, or like two guys sharing a table, and well, basically sharing a screen and a laptop. Uh, yeah, this is what we usually mean by pair programming. But I would argue that not now. Now everything's online and remote.
Yeah, so this is a remote pair presentation on remote pair programming. Yeah.
Exactly. Pair programming comes to your house, and we are streaming from our houses, right? And yeah, anyway, I believe there may be some illusions about programming, about pair programming specifically, that well, so to say, that there are some special tricks that are utilized in this pair programming. I don't know, different patterns. Well, it isn't so. I would say that the programming in general is less or more the same. You have just to agree on your commits, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there are so many other aspects, social one, technical one, I mean, equipment one, and many others, including English language. That's what we are going to talk about.
Yeah. And disclaimer, we are going to share our personal opinions and our experience. So your experience or your take might be different. So let's start.
Yeah, let's start. So, and we are going to use that git duet thing just for fun. I would say we use this special Git plugin for pair programming. When you start a pair, you issue the command git duet. Alexei and
So
Yakmor, for
why
example.
don't we use it in a pair presentation? I think that's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Pair presentation. Go, let's do our first commit.
Yep.
So, and yeah, when we do commit in pair programming, we do duet commit. So let's figure out why we would like to have to maintain this pair programming. Well, I would say that pair programming is, before everything, is about mutual understanding. Uh, you understand me, or you should understand me. I should understand you.
Exactly. And it's also develops an approach to improve collective code ownership. So not only one person developing the code, there are two pairs developing the same code, and it creates a ownership on the code for these pairs.
Right. So another thing is that pair programming doesn't mean that, well, you got a pair and this is your eternal pair. You should have a pairing schedule every week. You should form pairs within all your team. Let's say you guys maybe are 6 engineers, and everyone should have a chance to pair with everyone else. And every week there is a new pairing schedule, like maybe a couple of days, me and Yagmur, then the 3 next days of the week, say Yagmur and John or Jack or whoever else.
And it provides an important benefit, which is it eases the knowledge transfer among the team, and you also get to know your team members better, and you basically touch every piece in the code and every different tasks, every different stories in that the project team deals with.
Right. One thing is that uh, not too many people practice this pair programming still, so it becomes a kind of myth in our circles. So it's like, well, you probably heard this phrase mentioned about something else, but it's very similar with pair programming. Like everyone talks about it, not so many people really know what is it, and only few are really doing it. All right, commit.
Let's commit.
So now about remote. Why remote pair programming? Well, in our team, in our case, we joined a new project, a new team, and this team was actually created even before the pandemic started. They were maintaining this pair programming mode even before COVID. They wanted to keep it.
Exactly, and the team was is not enforcing any formal approach techniques. Basically, however you are doing pair programming at the office, you do it at home. So basically, the same pair programming without any formal technique enforcement.
Yeah, it's just that you can't kick your partner with elbow or something.
Yeah, of course,
Just
and
yeah.
you cannot have coffee together, but at least
Well,
in
it's
person.
sad, isn't it?
It is sad. It is sad.
All right. Anyway, then just share your screen and go. It's quite similar to what we've just did during this presentation.
Exactly, and you know, after this normalization, people still don't want to come to office. So this practice still remains actual. So the team still doing remote pair programming instead of in-person pair programming.
Oops, man, I haven't seen you at the office. Well, no, you went a couple of times for lunch, but
Exactly.
still, we never worked together in the office.
Yeah, we have never worked together in the office, but we had lunch. I think that's also fun.
It is. But this actually is all about that remote pair programming is still actual.
It is.
Okay, commit.
Commit. Yeah, let's go with the equipment side. And so even though you are doing pair programming, sometimes you have solo times and you work on some tasks with yourself. So, and in the equipment side, of course, since you shared your screen via Zoom, you need to have a reliable internet connection. And of course, you need, I think, in my opinion, you need at least two monitors minimum, because in one monitor you are sharing your screen with your colleague, and in other monitor you need to check something, maybe in browser, maybe in email, maybe in some other dashboard. So two monitors in minimum, that is needed for sure. And you need to get used to drawing, annotating tools or whiteboard analogs. So there are tools in the internet or some meeting tools providing that, but at least you need to get used to one tool for uh, to draw something for your pair when needed. Commit.
The thing is that even exactly when you're doing pair programming and basically you are in this mode for 5 hours a day, let's say, you really feel which tools make you more productive and which tools don't work that well. From my personal experience, for example, Zoom has a lot to improve. The instrument panel, they have it. You can draw, annotate, all that, but it's so far from like ergonomical perfection when you're doing
Exactly.
that for 5 hours. But Microsoft Teams is even worse in this regard. And there is no wonder that the professional software companies like, well, those that normally doing IDEs like JetBrains develop their own solution. In particular, I refer to the JetBrains code with me. But the thing is that when you're doing this code, the information goes through JetBrains servers. And well, they actually claim the encryption. Uh, they say that this is all absolutely encrypted, but the customer anyway may be on the safe side and not appreciate it. So it becomes, well, you go back to good old Zoom. But this is not everything. Okay, you can basically stack up on whatever perfect software. But if you work in pair and you have some problems with your equipment, well, your problems becomes problems of both you guys. For
Yeah.
example, blackouts become much more visible. Say, I had a case when, well, electrical company was doing something during a particular day at the street. Basically, they probably turned off the electricity in the house 2 or 3 times, and they didn't care a lot about that.
Yeah.
But this means that not only your programming is over for some time,
Yeah.
but yeah, your colleague is off as well. Well, yeah, of course, it's possible to somehow rearrange all that, but you can't have plan B all the time. Uh,
Exactly.
yeah, you understand it. Yeah, that's why. Well, you need a really thick, good channel. And when working with customers, you often use VPN, well, whatever kind of solutions that are considered as VPN. They may impact the channel bandwidth. And well, especially if for a long time you may see whatever side effects, like your messages don't come, your emails don't come, whatever other things, because this pair programming via Zoom, well, produces a decent load on your internet.
Yeah, it
So
does. It does.
you
Camera
better take
open. Yeah.
care.
Yeah. Exactly.
All right, commit.
Yeah. Let's commit. Okay. About programming side. So in terms of programming, every one of us has different coding styles. I'm not saying uh, one of them is better and over another, but we all have different coding styles, right? And it's in a good way. It blends the coding styles, propagating way. So it's kind of nice actually in that sense.
I would say still you better agree on some general like coding style, or you it should somehow like emerge from your two different styles, because otherwise it will look like some weird hybrid.
Mhm.
And yeah, but there is, well, basically if you really look at what your partner is doing, for example, when it's his turn to program, this is a kind of continuous code review. And
Exactly.
when it works properly, it works, and it ends up with working out this blended coding style.
And when your pair is coding and you are about to watch it, and it's easy to lose your focus when your pair is coding. So you need to keep yourself awake when your pair is coding so that you don't lose your focus.
Exactly, exactly. There are so many distractions. We were talking about like two monitors. Well, of course, you're sharing one and another one. I don't know, various messages pop up. And well, technically, I don't know, who knows what are you doing on that your second screen. So whatever, you lose focus. Yeah, exactly. There is another thing that is like contrary. You are kind of over focused. You are looking what your partner is coding on a shared screen, and you immediately like throw away your 2 cents. Oh man, there is a typo there.
Yeah.
But the thing is, over internet, it all goes with lags. So maybe even typo is already fixed. So if you are nagging that every 5 seconds, then your partner may become, well, irritated.
Furious. Yeah, exactly. So there is an idea for maybe both of these down and upsides. So we call it asynchronous pragmatic pair programming. What you do in that, basically, you decide on some task. I mean, you share some task, either different tasks or the same task, and you discuss about it, and then you go solo. You work on that for a specific time that you agreed upon, and then you get together again and discuss what you have done of, or text your colleague, text your pair if you need anything, if you have any questions. So that is kind of asynchronous pragmatic pair programming. What do you say about
Yeah,
it, Alexei?
yeah, exactly. This also works if your connection is not so good, and it's really hard to maintain it good through, well, hours. So you decide, okay, let's do these two micro assignments. You did this, I do that. These assignments should be like for say 45 minutes, less or more. Then and you turn off like Zoom. You just do your normal programming. Then you get back together in 45 minutes and discuss. Maybe you already ready to review the code, or maybe you got
Yeah,
stuck and want to discuss, well, whatever option. Anyway, it means that you sync up pretty quickly, but it's not about like you constantly like looking at each other. It's kind of pragmatic way.
exactly. Let's commit.
Yeah, let's call it a commit.
So yeah, here comes social side. So
Yep.
while working from home, actually it was better for me than sitting alone all day at home. So for my case, I've just relocated to another country, and it was a new house, new company, new project. Everything was new, and I was completely alone. So it helped me a lot. So I was pairing with someone during the day, and at least I'm talking to someone. So even if it was technical all day or coding. And it's also good that you get acquainted with your team, either customer team or company team, because it was kind of COVID times, work from home times. So you get used to your team members in terms of their technical strengths. And sometimes, of course, you're doing some casual chat, so you know what they like or what they dislike. So it was fun. So commit.
Okay, then I maybe will throw away something that's, well, not so nice, but has to be considered. First, yeah, I already mentioned switching pairs every day, or well, every 2 days probably better. Well, it depends on what are your tasks, how large they are, but in general, you have to switch
Yeah.
because people somewhat get tired of each other. You would prefer to like change the company, then you get back together after some days, but well, you better switch, I advise. And there is another thing. Well, when a person starts this pair programming, well, sometimes it really starts hard. It's like, for example, maybe you have a really hard time thinking in public. In public, I mean like real-time thinking, uh, like behind the eyes of your partner. I don't know. Sometimes it just, especially at the beginning, it doesn't work. I don't know. Brain decides why you are commanding me like think. I will think when it's convenient, but here you have to think because you're like requested. But I believe that you get accustomed pretty fast.
Yeah,
Okay, I believe I am committing.
that's correct.
So
Okay.
let's talk a bit about English. The thing is, we speak English. In our company, we speak a lot of English. And well, is it really a challenge? I thought that it's not a challenge for me until I started this pair programming because well, let's discuss it like in small portions. The thing is, I already mentioned that we are talking 5 hours a day in pair, and speaking 5 hours a day in general, it's a challenge. You may just have a sore throat out of that.
Exactly. So I understood my mother very well. She's a school teacher. So yeah, speaking 5 hours a day is a challenge. And speaking English, I mean, or in another language which is not your mother tongue, it's a separate challenge because yeah, you I don't know, you talk in sometimes in another language in English, although we are quite used to speaking in English, but it was another challenge, I must say.
Yeah. I would better say speaking non-mother tongue is a separate challenge. In our case, it is English. Well, it
Yeah.
happened. So then, on top of that, speaking and coding at the same time is a challenge. Well, I really thought why. My English gets worse when I try to speak and code. I was thinking why and found out that that's because I think in Russian. Because my mother tongue is Russian, I think in Russian and it goes out when you're pair programming. Basically, Russian words go out of me inadvertently. I didn't mean that, but I can just say without any expectations some Russian words. Well, I mean, not swearing. I mean, just whatever. Like, I can reply "da," like yes or whatever, because it's like you're fighting with like your speech and your thoughts, and you have to then maybe switch to thinking in English, but it's not so easy.
And I can add this thing also. We were we were trying to learn Spanish at the same time. So now there is third language because I was joining my pair after uh, let's say Spanish class, and in my mind there were three languages. So yeah, sometimes uh, I said loud some Spanish words as well, I can say.
You just said mentioned that I said "see" several
See,
times at the dailies just naturally without even thinking about it, and it
exactly,
was funny.
exactly. It works that way. And of course, two non-native English speakers speaking English, and there's always some percentage of mutual misunderstanding. But I think where drawing tools helps a lot, or just showing your ideas while with coding, I just like to implement this real quick. So I think it works fine in terms of technical matters, but in terms of social things, you need to just be patient and try to understand your pair well.
And maybe, well, accept it as is. Some percent uh, will not be understood. Uh, you just need, well, a lot of sessions to deliver precisely, well, your all your ideas. Just be patient. That's it.
Yeah, it's the key.
Commit.
Commit. All
Ethics.
right.
Oh,
Ethics. Yeah, it's a deep topic. So let's try to cover it at least for the remote pair programming
I
context.
didn't really think about that this ethics topic at all may pop up.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. But yeah, so you are working from home, and of course two people have different personal calendars during whole day. So you're not in the office and you need some breaks. So how are you going to make the breaks? Or how are you going to decide on the start time? Because in the team there are people from different time zones as well. So that's important that you should agree upon and discuss with your pair time to time. So in order to make yourself and your pair convenient during the
Right. About breaks, I would also add about like breaks ethics, because I had a case with a guy in our team who used to say, okay, I'll just need to answer a phone a couple of minutes, hold on, and disappeared for 20 minutes or so. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, somewhat inconvenient. Another thing is that, well, if you just join some team and you are not accustomed to them, I don't know, sometimes you may have, well, you may hesitate to ask for a restroom break and all that. Although, please, just if you need a break, go ask for it and do it.
exactly. Sometimes nature calls.
It is. Well, confusing situations. I already told about like those two monitors and all that, but still, uh, you may really review your, like, say, virtual environment on your machine. What I mean is like what messages bubble up and all these things, because maybe you don't want some fresh comments from some fun discussion with your brother to pop up like on your machine during pair programming. Yeah, you have to rethink your environment. Second thing is that, well, some people are comfortable spending a lot of time under cameras, and some don't. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's a question. Really, if you are doing remote pair programming, you never have time to pick your nose.
Probably, I don't know.
Oh, anyway, this inconvenience happens.
Okay.
People, you, well, cameras, well, quite recently entered our computer life, I would say. But pair programming, of course, normally you would like to see the real like emotions of a person, but at the same time, somebody wouldn't like to be on cameras for 5 hours a day.
Yeah, exactly. And in terms of environment, it's not always the case. I mean, it's not always convenient or available.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't know if you're at home, maybe your spouse goes in underwear or whatever.
Spouse or dogs, cats, because it happened a
Yeah,
couple
we
of times.
saw like a
Yeah,
cat walking like on the table on your desk.
yeah. Trying to
all,
pair with
all that
you.
all that thing. Yeah, exactly. I would
Exactly.
like to become third. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Oops, we are out of challenges.
Oh, at the end. Good.
So we reached the end. Yeah, right. A couple of resources that I wanted to advise. So I myself was quite confused with how to do this remote pair programming. And one of the team members advised me the podcast called Practicing XP. These guys covered a lot of, in general, like pair programming techniques. But when the pandemic started, they explained how they move all their techniques, including pair programming, to remote. Basically, I have to admit that the idea of asynchronous pragmatic pair programming was stolen from one of those podcasts. Yeah, some interesting ideas and sharing experience. Another interesting talk it's one talk. InfoQ podcast is vast. There is a lot of useful stuff, but there was a quite recent talk on architecture trends, and despite its name, well, they really talked a lot about lessons learned from this remote development during the pandemic times. They dedicated maybe half of the talk about that, and there are very interesting ideas, and I would say summary of the trends they see. Not, I would say it's not architectural trend, but it's exactly what we are talking about. Well, maybe not so funny, but still in general about the same. Okay, so I believe that's what we wanted to talk about. So, well, are there any questions?
Thank you. Yeah, we have some questions. Let's start from mine. You said that pair programming is kind of continuous code review, but I guess the best thing about code review is that someone with fresh view can recommend you something. But when you do pair programming, I guess it's kind of different because you have this bias of viewing your code. So do you think code review is still needed when you do pair programming?
Well, let's start from my comments, and then probably Yigmur would add something. For this particular team where we started pair programming, it was exactly the idea to not to do code reviews, but to do it through pair programming, because a lot of times code reviews become so formal thing. You really don't live and breathe this code. But when and you just look, probably I don't know, found out a couple of alignments, syntax corrections, well, the things that the well, tools that idea could reformat and fix all these stylistic issues for you. You would like somebody else to make you a comment, right? The something conceptual, maybe something should be done in a different way, and that's what the pair programming is trying to achieve. You always have somebody else with his different opinion.
And it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't removes the process of peer reviews, because we are also creating PRs, so somebody else needs to check it. But of course, we have both continuous review and also PRs. So I think that's fine.
We definitely do PR, but as I said, very often a PR review is very formalized. Here, you're really sharing the work with something who lives and breathes your task as well. He's not going to look into a couple of random syntax corrections. He will be able, and that will be the only person probably who will provide you the comment in depth, because otherwise, if you are side reviewer, you really need to read and ideally play with some code that's put to review.
Got it. Thanks for your answer. The next question is how to estimate tasks when you practice pair programming on the project. Do you need to plan less in one sprint?
Well, I would say first the estimation technique didn't change. So we still estimate during the Scrum planning. We still use planning poker, and it's just that we work in pairs, and technically you are doing less amount of tasks, but with better quality and arguably with better speed, because something that you may probably spend a couple of hours figuring out what you are doing wrong maybe the second person will give you a hint right away.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's well put, Alexia. I mean, there is nothing to add on my side.
Thanks. The next question, does make onboarding new engineers easier, faster? How do you compare its efficiency to well-written documentation in terms of information dissemination? Igor, probably you want to answer.
Sure. Yeah, onboarding new engineers. So it depends on the seniority of the engineer, of course, but I believe you always need some kind of knowledge transfer because although documents sometimes speaks for themselves, but still you need some knowledge transfer. You need to explain something to your pair. And at least in the first week, sharing a task together and to complete it together in pair programming, both gives your pair confidence in the team and knows you better, knows the new joiner knows the team members better. So I think it works faster in that sense. But of course, that doesn't eradicate the need for well written documentation, of course. But you can still do the same thing. I mean, you can still do the documentation, but I think it makes it faster when it comes to onboarding new engineers.
I would even argue nothing onboards an engineer better than pair programming.
Everybody should practice that.
Why not?
For that matter, I think yes, or at least, well, it's costly from the perspective that some people say that pair programming for your manager, pair programming is like you're doing the 2 times less number of tasks because your engineering workforce diminished 2 times. But
Yeah.
so basically, you have not 6 engineers, for example, but 3 micro teams, right?
Right.
So it's like that. So I heard that. Heard that thing. But anyway, for example, if you'd like to onboard a person, I think pair programming. Well, there is no comparison with that, especially if you are doing something not trivial.
Yeah. And the last question, how efficient do you find constant pair programming when the pairs have a different level of seniority?
Not an easy question. I would say there are good and bad sides of that. Well, a good thing is that this way you can teach the partner with less skills different tips and tricks and basically help with growth. Bad thing is that you may get tired of this if you constantly feel that in your pair you are mostly pulling your weight. So it's really better to have pairs of, from that perspective, it's good to have pairs of equal weight. At the same time, really, if you are set up for doing teamwork, this should really help because your team at the end will become better and new people, okay, they don't know some stuff that you do. Now they will know, and at the end, the team will become stronger.
I can add this. It might be tiring for both parties, but if the pair with less seniority tries hard, so it in the long run it works for team better. So that's what I can say about. But maybe for that thing, there shouldn't be much gap between the pairs. That's what I can say. But
The
it's
thing
like
is,
on the job training, and it works fine.
the thing is, you will never probably have the people with really same like skills level in the team, and it's always like somebody is better in the area of programming language. Another guy is better at conceptual thinking, so to say. The third one is real like Linux guy who knows all the tips and tricks of command line. Another one knows various like useful tools. So you kind of blend all that knowledge together. It's not only about code itself.
And in big data projects, all of them are needed.
Yeah,
That big.
exactly.
Exactly.
Right, agree, absolutely agree. We are out of time, but let's answer the last question. Actually, it has two parts. Does parallel programming improves relationship or other way around? You seem quite aligned and synchronized. Is there a problem to still have different opinions after some time practicing parallel programming?
Is it one question or are there two?
It's like one question of two parts, I would say. So all of it about relationship.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that. Yeah, in general, that's why we said that there are so many sides of that, and that programming, well, pair programming as programming patterns doesn't differ a lot or at all, maybe from, well, solo programming. So once again, the first part, Ksyusha, could you repeat?
Yeah, does parallel programming improves relationship or rather
Or the other way around?
Yeah.
Well, everyone could have his own opinion on that. I believe that it also may relate or depend on soft skills of the team and each individual partner. I think that, for example, for us, me and Yegmur, it worked well, and I think it really improved relationship, especially in the long term. I mean, it's not so palpable, after a couple of months, but once you spend a year in a project.
Right.
I agree. Yeah, it worked fine for us. So I'd like to be on the positive side. So
The second part,
Is there a problem to still have different opinions after some time practicing parallel programming?
so it's interesting. Does it mean that we need to shuffle teams? So when you have 6 engineers, they worked in pairs over 1 year, they exchanged all the thoughts, now they are completely like blended, and they don't have the contrary opinions anymore, and it becomes not so useful. Interesting. Maybe I haven't got exactly the same thoughts as the author of the question, because there could be so many paths of that. Well, I don't know. It's probably something that is ever developing.
I
Yegmor,
don't
what do you
think.
think?
I mean, I don't think it works that way because the problems change, tasks change, the project goes into some direction. So it's an evolving thing. I mean, I think it's kind of hard to have all the people with the same idea or with the same opinion. So, and also, sometimes people change their companies or their projects. So, what I'm trying to say is, I mean, uh, for most of the times, you don't have a team for 1 year without changing anything, because you complete some task, you start another module, you add another module, or you start another microservice, or you start to process another type of data. So it always, I mean, software projects have always dynamism. So, I mean, I haven't seen that before. That's what I
I
can say.
agree. Thinking on the spot, I really thought about the same, and you took it off my tongue. If the project develops, if it doesn't stagnate, then you will always have a mix of opinions, the things to argue about, whatever. really, if your project stagnates and you're like not really chewing the same gum again and again and again, well, maybe that's no sense to use pair programming. Pair programming stimulates creativity. If it's about like just some support of the code that's already learned by heart, well, maybe it doesn't need pairing.
Right. Yeah, that's it. Thanks a lot. That's absolutely curious topic. Thanks for sharing your experience. I guess it's quite unique. Not so many people have this practice.
Well, people do, but yeah, not everyone. So I believe it was interesting to share our observations out of that.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank you very much for having us,
Thank
for who joined
Yeah.
us.
Thank you very much, everyone who listened.
Yeah, join our community, subscribe on YouTube channel. Thanks a lot. See you probably in 3 months in our next tech meetup. Bye.